Hi, it's Diane Manus with Gigi's Kitchen. Yes, it's the first one, and we are making meatballs today because this is the all-time favorite of my family. Anytime I go to Pennsylvania, first thing they want is a pot of meatballs. So I'm going to show you the ingredients here. I know that we talked in an earlier post about the San Marzano tomatoes. I was able to find some in this. Cento is my favorite, but Tutto Rosso is pretty close, so I'm going to use these. And this is actually whole San Marzano tomatoes in some sauce. And then I have 2 cans of puree already open. I've got some breadcrumbs, some Parmesan cheese. Any kind of Parmesan cheese works. You saw in the previous post that I use Progresso Italian seasoned. And the reason I do that is because I make so many of them that to cut up all the parsley and to go and get more garlic and to put all of that together, let me do it this way. I feed hundreds this way. I also have some Himalayan salt, a little bit of red pepper seeds. I'm going to need some sugar and, of course, basil, which is part of the sauce when we make the meatballs. So let's start with the meatballs. Meatballs, I have a little bit over a pound of meat here. Of course, I could multiply that by 3-4 times as much and get way more meatballs, and I do, and I'll talk to you about that a little bit later. I'm going to add a little bit over a pound. I'm going to add a couple of eggs to it, and we're going to mix that couple of eggs. I just washed my hands, so my hands are definitely clean. And just like Grandma Nunzadea used to do, you just kind of flip it around just like you would the dough, and you smash it all together. I usually use a different bowl, but this is the bowl I'm using today so that you can just kind of get a glimpse on the inside. And then we're going to go ahead and reach over here. I have probably a half a cup of the breadcrumbs and a half a cup of the Parmesan cheese. And I'm going to go ahead and dump that in. And you'll get a feel for it. You'll know when it's not too soupy anymore, when it starts to stiffen up. You get a little bit of binding going on in there. That's when you know that your meatballs are just about done. So we're going to go ahead and mix those all up. And while we're mixing those up, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the wine I'm drinking today. This is a special wine. My son Shane and his lovely wife Liz went to Italy for their honeymoon. They brought me back a delightful bottle of wine. I've been sipping a little bit at a time, and I'm going to finish it off tonight. On top of that, because I'm from Pennsylvania, I use my famous wine stopper that has the Pennsylvania map on it. So everything comes back around from Pennsylvania back down to North Carolina every time. So now we're going to take you back over here now that we have it just about mixed nicely. And we're going to go over to the stove, and I'm going to show you exactly what we got going on the stove. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of olive oil to a non-stick fry pan. Now, there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can roll them up and put them in the fry pan and get them browned. Or you can roll them up, you can put them on a baking sheet, put them in the oven until they're browned, and then pull them back out. I do that sometimes. Usually Sunday morning, I like the smell of the meatballs and the garlic and the olive oil first thing Sunday morning so that everyone knows there's a pot of sauce on the stove. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to brown those meatballs. And while we're browning those meatballs, we're going to take a little bit of the garlic that I have minced, and I'm going to add that straight down into the meatballs to kind of get that flavor going around. Okay, so let's imagine these are browning. I'm going to go ahead and start over here with another pot, and I'm going to add oil into that. I've got probably about a head of garlic. I didn't do it fine chopped. I rough chopped it because I like to see the pieces in there. I think it gives it more flavor when it's not all minced up. So the flavor is going to come out in the olive oil, and that's what we want. So we're going to go ahead and saute that. while we're waiting for the meatballs to saute. And once they start to brown, and I'm going to show you what they look like here in a minute once they get brown. Once they get brown, we're going to add the sauce to it. Now, once we add the sauce, we're going to kind of layer the flavors. So I'm going to add, first of all, the tomatoes into the roasted garlic. And then I'm going to take the tomato masher or the potato masher, and I'm going to mash the tomatoes up in there so that all those flavors kind of start to bind together. And then I'm going to add the basil, some salt, some sugar, and layer another can of puree on top of that. And the puree is going to give it a little bit more sauciness to the crushed tomatoes. And then we're going to start to cook it all down. And once I have all the meatballs cooked, then we're going to add the meatballs into the sauce. Okay, so if you'll wait 1 minute, I'm going to finish the meatballs and I will be back.